Today, I'm so excited to welcome to Conversations with the 3 Minute Coach, my new friend, Joyce Harris. And so let's just get started talking about you and your background and your business. I really am excited to share that with my audience.
Oh, okay. Mediation. I'm new to mediation and being a mediator. I spent almost 30 years doing manufacturing work, and 20 of those years was in supply chain and logistics. So mediation was a whole different field, a whole new career for me, but it's been exciting.
Yeah, and so I love that story that you have come out of, say, a corporate background completely unrelated to mediation. So, how did you decide on mediation as the next chapter in your career?
Well, I've always known about mediation and I was always curious about it. And then when I found the Master's in Legal Studies program at Texas A&M Law, I decided to take that program. And during that program, we had to take a conflict resolution class. And then learned more about mediation and arbitration. And I absolutely loved the class. And I've always wanted to do something kinda legal, but not wanting to go to law school, and this opened up that door for me, and the fact that I love that course so much, I thought, "This is the way I would like to go."
Cool. And so then from there, you became a certified mediator in Texas and now an arbitrator as well?
Yes, I did my training in mediation and arbitration. Within the mediation, I have the advanced family mediation that allows me to do divorce, and I have adult and elder care, which allows me to step into that dynamic and help families that are trying to figure out who is going to take care of the aging parent.
I love that. That is a really interesting aspect of mediation that, yeah, I can see the application immediately, that families need that kind of intervention. So, is there a specific moment or realization? You told me about the course, but what moved you from awareness of this into action?
Well, after I took the course, I started to research and see, what exactly did it take to be a mediator? What did I need to do to be a mediator? And then in doing that research, then I found all of the different training courses and things I needed to do. Funny thing is, at first I took a 40-hour basic mediation course, but it was online and it was from the National Association of Mediators, but that wasn't enough for Texas. And I'm halfway through that course, and then I realized Texas has their own specific basic mediation, and so I had to bag up and take the Texas mediation courses, and so now I have the certificate for the national, and I also have mine for Texas.
Oh, I love that. So that means that you can really mediate anywhere. Mhm.
Anywhere, yeah, anywhere within the US.
Yeah, I love that. So, and you mentioned elder care and family mediation. What other areas of mediation have been of interest to you?
The civil and commercial type disputes, I'm actually in the process of trying to move away from family and go more into the business side and mediate those civil and commercial types of disputes, specifically like the contract disputes and those types of things. I think it allows me to have a broader client base because there's so many businesses and so many industries.
Without the drama of family law, right?
And the emotion,
Okay,
and
and
the
the
emotion.
emotion. There is actually very few people that stay there forever because it is so emotionally
Yeah, yeah, especially dealing with the children and yeah, so I kinda did a couple of divorces and then I was like, "I think I wanna pivot to business."
yeah, that doesn't surprise me. So, it's still a huge interest of mine that you came to mediation as a non-attorney, and how does that affect your perspective when mediating conflicts between people or
I
businesses?
think it allows me to be a little bit more empathetic. Attorneys are trained in litigation. I like to call it courtroom combat, and they are
Right?
used to fighting for one party over the other. I think when attorneys step into a mediation space, that it may be a little harder for them to remain neutral because they're used to picking a side and they're used to fighting for one client over the other. I think not having to be in that space allows me to not just look at the conflict and what kind of outcome I think it should have, but to look at the whole both parties, the whole situation, and what brought these parties to the table is the conflict, but why are they having the conflict?
Right, right. And yeah, totally. You added to your wheelhouse a lot of legal knowledge, though, by getting this legal master's in laws degree, I assume.
Yes, I felt like even though you don't need a law degree to do mediation, I thought it would be helpful to have the foundation and also add credibility to my business to say, I'm not an attorney. And then, people look at, oh, well, this attorney does mediation and she's not an attorney. Then we'll go with that attorney to do our mediation. So I think the master's in legal studies, especially wanting to go to the business side, because my master's in legal studies also has the certificate part, which is the business law and compliance.
Oh,
So yeah, so that gives me more foundation to be able to do the business mediations.
right. And the compliance aspects of conflicts that arise out of organizations' efforts to comply with requirements of the law, I assume you mean.
Yeah, and that was kinda like my original plan was when I was still in corporate, was to move from my current role into a compliance side because my last role, it wasn't we were doing medical manufacturing, and I kinda wanted to do the compliance and make sure we were FDA compliant and everything, but after that kinda didn't go the way I had planned, then I was able to go ahead and step into opening my own business.
Yeah, I love that. So I love that you mentioned this because this series is about brave and courageous acts, sort of highlighting people who have done brave things. And what you just described is a brave thing, you know. And so tell me about that decision of just pivoting, saying that expectation didn't come to pass, but I'm just going to pivot into my own business. That sounds like a big decision.
It was a big decision. Most of my family thought I was losing my mind, right? I stepped away from a very lucrative paying position to start my own business, which is, so uncertain. But I felt like if I didn't do it because it was in my heart and I wanted to do it, and I felt like if I didn't do it, I would always regret not trying. So I had to like at least try. And it's been challenging. It hasn't been easy. It's been hard. I think the hardest thing is like missing that steady paycheck every 14 days and going into a situation where, I need to find a client. And so the uncertainty of it all was definitely a bold move, but it also pushed me outside of my comfort zone. But I'm in a space now where I really enjoy being a business owner and embracing the title entrepreneur. That it just brings a sense of pride that no corporate title can bring to you.
I love it. And yeah, that's so true. That sense of being the captain of your own ship. So, what has been the most challenging part of that transition from corporate to entrepreneur, and how have you navigated it?
Learning to build a business, starting a business, learning to build it, going out, finding clients. I've never done so much networking in my entire life. It's like, oh, you gotta do networking and you gotta do more networking. But to try to get out there and be visible and let people know that my business exists, that really took me outside of my comfort zone because I have to do a lot of networking to make sure that my business is visible.
Yeah. So, speaking of visibility, the name of your business is Joyful Mediation. And so, what does that name say about your approach to mediation?
The name that I want to create a space for the parties to be calm, to be comfortable, and I want them to come into mediation thinking and believing that they can have a resolution to their conflict without being contentious all the way through. They can come in and we can go through the conflict, and even if we don't find a solution, we can still come out of the conflict with a healthy respect for each other.
Yeah.
So I do
Right.
the best I can to try to help them solve the conflict and still preserve their relationship, because at some point they decided to get married and have kids and now they're dissolving that. But you want to keep the respect there, because at some point that was like that person had your total and complete trust. And so I try to have them tap into that when they come into mediation so we can just keep the temperature at a cool level.
And so do you find that there's a certain kind of person that is drawn to you because you've chosen a name that sort of reflects your philosophy around mediation?
Yeah, actually, it's the more people that are needing family mediation are more drawn to it because of the joyful name, and they feel like they can come out of this in a better space than they went into it. And on the flip side of that, doing my research for my business and my name when I was putting together a business plan to try to draw in more corporate, AI highlighted that my name seemed a little soft to corporate clients. Yeah, and so I was like, "Okay, well, even if they're corporate clients, I still want them in a space where they feel like they can navigate the conflict, especially when they're dealing with employees. Conflict with employees can get very contentious, and then before they know it, they're in court, right? So I still want them to feel like we can come out of this with a smile on our face for both
Right.
the HR person and the employee, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure. And we kind of share that interest in workplace conflict and that idea that at the end of the day, the hope is that the employee, employer, or the coworker relationship is somehow restored. And
yeah,
that your name sort of speaks to that. It creates an expectation of an outcome that is not contentious. So
yeah.
but right now I'm drawn to it. When I met you through an article you wrote on LinkedIn, and I'm like, oh, what a wonderful idea, joyful mediation. And so if someone who's listening is in the middle of a conflict and thinking about using a mediator to resolve it, what are two or three things that you would suggest that they consider?
The cost and the time, and and knowing that if they decide to use a mediator, they can get through their conflict a little faster than if they follow the traditional litigation process. I like to tell clients, like, most of the time, before an attorney can get you through discovery, we've already sat down and you've reached your own resolution to your problem. So it gives them their time back. The cost, there's no retainer for a mediator. For me, myself, I charge a flat fee, and they can see that on my website. And it's much cheaper than having to hire an attorney who's charging you by the hour and they're having to have multiple sessions. And then to know that even if they came to mediation and they didn't get a resolution to the problem, it's okay. Then they know that litigation is the next step.
Well, and I assume even if someone is already in litigation, there's a role for mediation.
Yeah, they can always take a step back. I've had several cases where the parties have shown up with their attorneys, mostly within the divorce part of it. But yeah, even if you started the process, and I know in Texas, many of the judges require mediation before they even hear a case in the court.
Yeah, it's becoming such a important part of how cases make it through the funnel of being litigated to have a settlement conference or a mediation conference. Almost all courts are leaning that way because it does clear the docket if people settle on their own.
They
And you're
generally
right,
can.
less time and a lot less money.
Yeah, it gives the courts more capacity to hear those cases that absolutely need to be litigated. And for me, when I'm talking to attorneys about collaboration, I tell them the same thing. Like, if you refer someone over to me for mediation, that frees up your time to go after bigger clients and those clients that actually need the time that you're going to put into the case.
Yeah. So attorneys can become a source of references or referrals to you for people who maybe, have a no asset divorce or something where, it's easier to mediate than to pay a lawyer $20,000 to litigate.
Yeah, and not everyone has that $20,000, right? So I asked some of the attorneys I talk to, I kind of lead with, so what happens when someone contacts you and they can't afford you? Where do you send them to? What happens, right? And so those are the people that I'm hoping my practice can serve.
Yeah, for sure. So, how do you stay encouraged in this work?
My faith. I have a mouse pad on my desk that has Psalms 46:5 that says, God is within her, she will not fail.
Right? I love that verse.
And so I'm looking at it all day, every day. That kind of keeps me grounded. And then just knowing that when I'm able to help parties reach a resolution, that's a good feeling. That's the feeling when I'm writing up that mediated sale agreement and it's like, okay, they came in a conflict, but they're leaving with a solution. That's a really great feeling for me.
Well, I totally enjoyed talking to you, and I have just five little short questions that I call this the encouragement round.
Okay.
And the idea is just off the top of your head, an answer to these questions. First one is this: what is one thing you're learning to trust right now?
Myself and my decision to step away from corporate and come into an uncertain situation to start my business.
All right. What is one small action that makes you feel less powerless? Or I should say, more powerful.
If it's powerless, it's when I'm reaching out to attorneys for collaboration and then they're saying, "Oh, but we only use other attorneys for our mediators," or "We only use our judges for our arbitrators." That makes me feel powerless. I feel like I don't have, like, control over my career that I've chosen now, and it's like, "Okay, well, how do I build if I can't get collaboration?" The thing that makes me feel most powerful is when two parties come together and choose me as their mediator.
For sure. So what would you say to someone who feels that their conflict can't be mediated?
Every conflict cannot be mediated, and that's okay. That's why we still have litigation. If you As we sit down and see if your case is right for mediation, I actually had a person that I did a consult with this past week that came in and we did a consult, and her case was not something that needed mediation. She needed an attorney to help her out.
Mhm. So what helps you stay grounded in the midst of the change in your role, the building of your business, putting on that entrepreneur hat? What keeps you grounded?
My faith, the journey that I took to get here, and the things that I've gone through, I've always come out better on the other side. And I've always liked to serve people. So I think putting on that servant hat and saying, I'm here to help you, that definitely keeps me grounded.
I love it. Yeah. So, what's going to be your next brave step?
Hiring somebody to help me.
Ah, that is a brave step.
Interesting. I've been thinking about taking on somebody part time who can do the cold calling to the attorneys that I want to connect with, can do the email blast for me while I'm out doing the networking and making the business visible, coming to the realization that I may need a little help here.
Yeah, I love it. Anyway, I have so enjoyed getting to know you. I hope you and I can collaborate on something again soon.
Yes. Yeah.
And I hope that this this time that we've had together can be useful to you in growing your business. So with that, I'll say farewell for now. I know it won't be goodbye because I surely expect to build our relationship too. So good to
Yeah.
have had this time with you.
Yes. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was great speaking with you. And yes, we will definitely maintain this new friendship going forward.
I'm Grace Carter. This is the 3 Minute Coach, a conversation inspired by the work of Deborah Harris. Each episode offers a brief pause for thoughtful reflection and practical ideas you can live with.